Welcome to On the Chain. This is Jeff back at it here with co-host Chip. Excited for tonight because we are going to get into this fact that Gary Daddy Gensler embarrasses himself yet again. And somehow Chip Clayton is cornering himself. I don't know what they're, these word games and all this stuff going on within the XRP digital asset, crypto, Ethereum, Bitcoin. Kind of like it's become a puzzle or a maze. Something's going on, Chip. You want to get into this thing?
We're going to put the pieces together. Let's do this.
Welcome to On the Chain.
Hey, Jeff, good to have you back.
Right.
We had Minus on last night. It was,
great.
That was a cool conversation. It was cool to see you wearing your little beanie there with all the lights in the background. That was pretty cool.
Man, it was cold. It was like 32. This morning it was 29.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest, Jeff. I don't miss any of that.
No. Tell you what, I do not. I worked out this morning, went outside. I was telling you early to go grab some coffee across the street, and I realized I just had shorts and a t-shirt on. It was
you realized you weren't,
degrees.
Yeah, you were no longer in Kansas anymore. I told you weren't in Florida anymore. Yeah.
Oh, it was great.
That's how it happens. Well, what you missed today, Jeff, and maybe some of you missed, I know a lot of you watched it, but there was a fireside chat between Gary Gensler, the current SEC chair, and of course, Jay Clayton, the former SEC chair. And Jeff and I are going to rip into this tonight because, my gosh, there's so much great content for us to talk about and discuss and get down about. But again, it's kind of what you would expect. It's kind of what you might expect. It's kind of a little
typical, isn't it?
It's so typical, but yet it's so laughable in so many fronts. And I don't know what happened to Jay Clayton's hair, but it looks a little bit weird. Like, I'll throw this up there. Look at
little wiggish.
I don't know. It's getting a little wiggy there. You know what I mean? It's like you look at Clayton's hair. It's like it's just, it doesn't look, I don't know. It's odd to me. I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like we were down on the beach the other day, and this guy, he must have been, minimum, 80 something. And his hair was like jet black to the point where it didn't look natural jet black. And I was like, man, lay off the hair dye a little bit, tone it down.
Yeah, the shoe polish, just, put it through your hair. But it's good to be back. Good to have you back here, Jeff. And let's go into a little bit of this. Let's listen to it. Let's see what we can turn up here. But again, I wanted you guys to hear it. I'm going to turn it up, make sure that it's going. And this is just the early part of the interview. Again, this happened today. There was it was called the Digital Asset Compliance and Market Integrity Summit. Say that three times fast.
Yeah, I like that. What a nice summit. It's almost like the beer summit.
Yeah, what they call DACOM, DACOM 2021. I like DACOM better, but Digital Asset Compliance and Market Integrity. So who do they invite to this? Two people that have zero integrity and know nothing about compliance or the digital asset market.
Our two favorite
makes sense,
people.
Right?
Well, who else to have there, right? I mean, if you're going to bring anybody to a compliance conference that has anything to do with digital asset, then who else are you going to call? Then the ones that are leading one of the biggest cases in the history of blockchain cryptocurrency, and that is the SEC.
Yeah, the SEC. So let's listen in, and we'll kind of stop this and kind of chat. But he's going to go and introduce Gary Gensler. He's already introduced Jay Clayton. We already know Jay Clayton, but let's listen in here.
It is a great honor to host this conversation between these two gentlemen, and I'm going to let them get this started. Jay, on to you.
Thank you. Okay, this works. Thank you, Asaf. Do we have Gary? Chair Gensler?
Oh, Gary's not there with him?
Now, you didn't really think Gary was going to show up, did you, Jeff?
Man, I thought they were going to put him in the octagon.
Now, if he shows up, he doesn't leave the theater, right? Because one of the things we know about is we know John Deaton was there today, tweeted his pass to this thing. And I think that, and John Deaton's a former Marine. John Deaton may have it wouldn't have taken much for him to just tackle. If he could have taken both these guys out from behind, not that he would, Jeff, but I'm just saying Deaton is like the real deal. He's a Marine, man,
in the octagon.
Semper Fi. Once a Marine, always a Marine. He would have taken him. A former federal prosecutor. But let's listen in here, and then this is so typical. Gary, Chair Gensler. So there's a big screen above him, and they're like, "Where's Gary?" Nobody knows where Gary is. I mean,
is anybody in the audience, or are those like the crew that they got sitting in the front?
Well, it looks
Just
like
so they
those
can put 'em in
outlines
the
you put in the chair to like make it look like people. We're gonna have to keep an eye, Jeff, to see if they're really moving, because this could have been that backdrop looks a little fake. You know, the whole thing. Let's listen in. Let's see what happens here.
So
Let's see
fake
what Gary
as the Oval
is.
Office.
It's fake as the Oval Office, yeah.
For this eventuality, so I'll just sit here until Gary actually is here.
Oh,
There he is.
Oh, good.
There he is.
Do they
There
like
he is.
Gary out of that room?
All right.
He's
Well,
always in that room.
great to see you. Great to see you. It's been a long time.
now when you see Gensler here, he really thinks he's loved and adored. Yes, Jeff. He's
Oh my God!
it's-
Oh,
He's so looking
yeah.
Mr. Burns tonight, man.
Oh, look at him, man. He's like he's the shit right there. Look at him. He's all spiffy. Man, he's got his black jacket on.
Doesn't have
he's
a
got
collar
his,
button though, Jeff. Just
And
saying.
no, he doesn't have he's like unbuttoned the collar. And he thinks he's like, God's gift, just like Fauci. Look at him.
Yeah.
Look at that
Yeah.
smirk.
Yeah, so he's
Got that
super
smile
just
going.
excited that people are clapping and he's
Stoked.
there and
He's stoked.
he's the center of attention. But he doesn't bother to show up in person. Oh no. He's got to be on the Zoom call.
But this doesn't look like, this looks like his home office.
It is.
Or maybe,
It's
so
his
does he
home
ever
office.
leave his home?
No.
Did they let him out? Because
I don't think
I've
they do.
never seen him in any interview. He's never been out of his home office. He's never in his office.
Look, Hans Loaded says stupid smile. Ani's like, he's an idiot. Dash says his smile makes me sick. Sophie hungover.
Well, you did
you
kind
know,
of pause him in the middle of a blink. He does look a little hungover there.
Yeah, he does look like he's
He
been up
look-
drinking
either-
martinis all night, Jeff. And we haven't
He
even
looks a
started the
little
conversation. We're already wrecking him right there. It's like a martini, I'd like a martini, please. Please. Server like a
Please.
cassette. And he's probably somebody who would say, please. He would say that for
Please.
sure. So there you go. Yeah. Look at this. What a troll, says BZ. Yeah. So let's listen in and let's see what Chair Gensler has to say.
Do you think we can get him on the show?
Yeah, Jay, you look like you have fewer gray hairs now that you're out of the job for about a year.
Jeff, yeah, he's. I feel like one of those, did you see any of those in the window where they're like, those
Oh my
clowns, those
God.
animated clowns? He cannot wait to tell his joke, Jeff. You look like you have a lot more gray hair. I mean,
Oh, yeah. He's been holding that one back.
he's been waiting to tell that joke, Jeff, and he's just so proud of himself. Let's go.
Yeah,
Well, that's a good segue because I think people are here to hear you, not me. So, but if you ever want to turn the tables on me, feel free. Okay.
Oh, I might do
Who's
that
talking?
a couple of times.
Why don't they have
So,
a screen
right-
and picture in picture here? Why? How do we know who's talking?
So far, this is just riveting, Jeff. It's almost like I can't wait to play the next part because it's just off to such a solid start here. Let's go. Here we go. Van Life. Van Life
right.
with the 8-track, please. There you go. You're right. He's more of an 8-track guy. He predates the whole cassette thing.
Oh, yeah.
Nice call. Well stated. Yeah. Jim
Back
D.
from his
Gensler
MIT days.
from a side photo looks just like Harry Potter gremlin banker. Long hooked nose. Oh, jeez.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, boy. It's more like a Burns, I think. But anywho, let's listen.
There we
in
go.
on the Mr. Gensler.
All right. So look, let's kick it off. Chair Gensler, markets are ever moving. I mean, a conference like this would not have been thought about 5 years ago. And I applaud the group for putting together a compliance-oriented conference for a new space. It's important. Just a broad question. Your assessment of where the SEC is and knowing that it's ever evolving, where it needs to go with respect to the regulation of crypto. And I know that's a broad term, but over to you.
Well, I thank you, Jay. And you grappled with this. You came on board in 2017,
Chip,
a
pause
little
it
bit
for a minute.
earlier time in the crypto asset
Can you
class.
pause it?
Yeah, you see what he's going there, Jeff? What he's doing?
I don't know. It looks like he's wearing lipstick.
He can never answer a direct question. It's like, well, you were in the space and you came
Yeah.
on board on 20. Yeah, thanks, Gary. We're pretty much familiar with all that. Thanks a lot.
Dude, Is Gary wearing makeup?
I would. It looks a little pink in the lips there, right?
Yeah.
It's hard
All
to
right.
say, Jeff.
All
But
right.
let's get through this.
Let's go to what he's saying.
But we at the SEC are an investor protection agency. I mean, we have the three-part mission of investor protection, capital formation, and that which is in the middle, the markets. But at our core, everyone that's had the honor to be chair of this agency knows it's about investors. And I think where we are right now is we don't have sufficient investor protection in this space.
That's true. We don't have sufficient investor protection, especially when you're dealing with this
From,
SEC,
the
the Ripple
SEC.
case.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's one thing he said, but let's see where he goes with this, Jeff.
$0.6 trillion asset class, worldwide asset class. You grappled with it. We're grappling with it now. And I think that new technologies do not long persist if they stay outside of the public policy framework. And this is an investment asset class, and it needs investor protection or people will be hurt and trust will be undermined. And so
By who?
You
By
know
the
what? Huh? Go ahead, finish your thought.
It's going to be undermined by by the SEC, pal.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Chip, this would be perfect time to splice in, Tom Emmer, and Kennedy when they were questioning him on different topics. But imagine, with Tom Emmer, asking him, specifically, well, if you were to, go after one of these companies and say that they don't have enough investor protection, you say you're doing it for the investors, but you go after a company declaring them a security, what happens to the investors? What happens to the retail investor? Are you actually protecting them? What are you doing? What happens to them? And that's like D. Phillips is saying. Perfect. So smug. What do you think, Chip? Yeah, you're muted. You muted.
Sorry about that. He said, you know what he told Congressman Emmer? He told him that it wasn't people that were outside. If you bought a security, well, you're kind of on your own. So if you bought XRP, you bought a security and it's outside the protection of the SEC. And that was one of the greatest things that Congressman Emmer got him to admit, that the SEC is a complete joke and they're not out to really protect people. What does that mean? If you bought a digital asset that they believe is a security, you're not under the investment protection. All of this stuff, it means nothing what he's saying right now. That's really where he's coming from.
That's exactly it.
For those in the audience that are thinking, why has this got something to do with me? I think if you're a proponent of any of these projects or this space, without trust, the public is not going to stay with this class in the sufficient numbers that you would want long term.
Yeah, well, look, I think.
Did that make any sense what he said there? I think John Deaton was in the office, like they were holding him back, and he was trying to get to the screen. Maybe he's like, if you're in the audience and you think this is about me, well, yeah, it's about you. You could have stopped the lawsuit that Jay Clayton lobbied. You could have said, hey, this is ridiculous. We don't have clear enough. We don't have guidelines. Guidelines. I mean, so listen, I think this was filed a little bit prematurely. We got to wait for Congress to act. We're not going to. But he loves the whole litigation. Enforcement litigation.
Huge proponent of that. And again, it falls, hook, line, and sinker into this administration that is very antagonistic against people of a different mindset. But to your point there, it's there's something off, because when you listen to how he keeps portraying that the retail investor needs protection, and yes, to that extent, but there's laws on the books already, because what are we talking about in the, digital asset space to where you can be taken advantage of? Are we talking about a rug pull? Are we talking about a company that, shills their asset and then you come in and they run off with all the money? That's already covered. Right. There's already laws against that. You can't defraud people out of their money, out of their assets, and it's going to happen. Bernie Madoff. Bernie Madoff took billions. Look how many people suffered as a direct result of Bernie Madoff trading regular stock, and what happened there. So where's the protection for those people? that got defrauded by him, and it goes through the regular court system. So why would this be any different? What is he talking about?
I don't know.
That individual retail investors, what do we need protection from? Who at what point? I'm still, a little confused as to where, he's going with this. Aaron HO2 is saying, play the video, damn it.
Oh, it'll be a short show if we play the video. It'll be a very short show. So all right, let's go
Exactly.
on. Let's listen to it.
And we should just
You
be
know that I
dancing.
agree that investor protection is the touchstone. And thinking about the long-term interests of our investors is the lens through which the staff at the SEC looks at everything. So, but let's talk about where we see this going, because let me say this. I'm now an advisor to a couple of firms in this space, and I'm sure that other firms that I advise are in this space. So let me get that on the table. I see promise for this technology, great promise in efficiencies, but I also see, like you do, that only happening in an environment of trust. If you look down the road, where do you see the opportunities for crypto technology, digitally represented assets, and the like?
Look, we already I'm going to stay technology neutral. That's my job. I'm not public policy neutral. I think that investor protection, capital formation, and that in the middle of the efficient markets. Took an oath of office to really make sure we achieve those. But I think that the technology itself, with Satoshi Nakamoto, whoever she or he was, sort of has been a catalyst for change. It's around the globe, those in the payment business, central banks and private sector have started to think about payment systems a little bit different. There's some competition, so to speak, from decentralized bearer forms of value transfer. Now, some people will call it currency, but none of these projects have really taken on a full general embodiment of a medium of exchange, unit of account, and store of value. They've primarily been speculative stores of value and ways, as you so rightly said in 2018, and I think as recently as 2021 in a Forbes article. I don't think you mind if I would quote you back to you, Jay. That these have largely been, I think you were even more aggressive than that, but largely been about raising money for entrepreneurs, and as such meet the time-tested definitions of an investment contract and are thus under the securities laws.
How could a guy be so dense who supposedly, and I say supposedly because all the proof we have is the one YouTube video where he taught a class, at least based on blockchain, but he gets it all wrong here. He talks about the payment space, and now why would you bring Bitcoin into the payment space? And then it has nothing to do with payments, but that's why you would go after the Jay gave at least his, when he was running the SEC, gave a pass via Bill Hinman to Ethereum, which just happens to be some competition for the real beast in the payment space, which is Ripple. So everything he's saying here, they're not currencies, never been a currency. Well, Jay, have you paid attention to the CFTC as far back as 2015, 2016, who called XRP a currency? Have you paid attention to what the Department of Justice has said? They've stated that XRP is a currency. But Gary Gensler knows better, right, Jeff? He knows more than everybody else.
Well, of course, because he taught at MIT. So of course he knows better.
Allegedly
knows better.
Yeah, and any other of the array of definitions of a security in addition to an investment contract. And you've done a great job of articulating the principles behind that, which is the asymmetry of information between the project leaders and the public from which you're seeking funding. It's a fundamental principle that we have. And quoting back to you now, Chair Gensler, you've used the term Wild West, which
Should be interesting.
I took, and let me say how I took it, and then get your reaction. Was you were comparing this to a time when private currencies were proliferating, unregulated, unstable, And I tie that to the financial crisis and instability in money market mutual funds and products where people looked at it as a safe store of value. Is that the right perspective to interpret your comments?
Well, my wife was an artist, and she always said that let others interpret what you say or what you do. But so that would be one interpretation. We did have a period in the 19th century in the U.S. with multiple forms of tradable value paper, currency, if you wish. It was banknotes. It was the wildcat banking era. After Andrew Jackson had his little fight with the second bank of the U.S.
Okay, so look at the way he's positioning what happened with Andrew Jackson. Had a fight with the second bank. That's how he positions it. That Andrew Jackson had a fight. No, Andrew Jackson crushed the central bank, ran him out of town, right? Because the founders of the U.S. and the framers of the U.S. were very specific that they did not want any sort of central bank. They wanted sovereignty. They did not want to be run by that. Now we've got our third central bank crushed twice. He says they had a fight. They had a fight. No, that's not what happened. If you're and you kind of see where his thinking comes from, and he's missing the whole entire point because he's on the central bank, Federal Reserve, this whole thing. He's like, they had a fight with the bank. Like, he's completely unaware of history. Jeff, thoughts?
I think I don't know if it's unaware of or it's his interpretation of.
His wife was an artist, Jeff.
Well, of course, and he taught at MIT. So yeah, you put those two things together. But man, it's I'm just trying to listen to how he's trying to position things right now. It's gonna and hear what he's about to say, but he's referencing at how things had been positioned at one point, multiple different bank notes. Basically, he had a representation of what the bank of what the bank held, and so then you could come and trade that in, and it was a direct representation of and basically pegged. So Chip, at this point, as we look at what he's going to say, and this is really relevant because, some of the things that he's been, alluding to or stating, and it's interesting because he always prefaces everything, with always his actions are always there to protect the retail investor. So concerned about the retail investor, always bringing up the wild, wild west, mentality. And then we see Clayton over there, and between the two of them, they just seem to be, way too happy about having this conversation. And I'm just trying to figure out, like, Chip, what's their motivation at the end of the day? I was thinking about this as I was waiting for the plane to leave today, and I was thinking, there was another article, they came out, and basically Gensler is saying that centralized regulation is the right path for crypto. So he wants centralized control for a decentralized asset, right? So if you break this down, is this, is what he's talking about, is it something that is going to bring expansion of this new asset class, or is the way he's framing it going to put this asset class under the regulation of the central bank? So he wants to make it more centralized. He's trying to position and push it in the direction where some specific institution has full centralized control over it. And so if he's pushing it to the central bank, then he's also basically stating that the central bank is now 100% in control of the currency. So what's the motivation at that point? If you take someone, not a lawyer, not technical, he's definitely made his presence known as a financial analyst, and doing some, obviously did well in that space. Obviously was the chair of the CFTC. Obviously taught at MIT. Obviously is currently serving as the chair of the SEC. But what's his motivation? He has to have some motivation, and it's
Power,
not
Jeff.
to protect, and it's not to protect the retail investors. Is it power? Or is he looking to cement himself as the eternal crypto czar? Does he want to be the crypto granddaddy? What exactly? Because once a new administration comes in, he's done. So then what happens? Where does he go from there? But if he can position things and put all the power over to the Federal Reserve and position himself as some eternal crypto czar or the granddaddy of crypto that made it centralized, how does that change things, Chip?
Well, first of all, he's not going to do any of those. He'll go down as the GOAT, like really, literally a GOAT. Not the greatest of all time, but the greatest of all time when it comes to losing the biggest case of all time. Because what's going to end up happening under his reign, crypto is going to be able to excel, and it's going to be his doing. And he's going to realize that he made a tragic mistake. But again, he's so in with his ideology that none of this stuff matters to these guys. It's all about their ideology and centralization, power. It's not about representation of the people, Jeff, because everything he wants to do is centralized. He says he's supposed to protect the investor. It's like a bank robber saying, I really don't, my main goal is to do the right things in life. And then they go rob a bank. It's like, so, okay, yeah, we get that. That's the overarching rule of the SEC. That's not what Gensler's doing here. This whole thing is really contrived. And I like this comment here. Where was this comment? By Neil Cox says, this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard as it relates to law or regulations. Let everyone interpret it how they will. Talk about a lack of clarity. That's a really great comment, because on one hand, he's saying there's no clarity, and then he's making no sense himself. So he's kind of a product of the product and kind of what you might expect there. But all right, let's listen a little more to this. I don't think we have to kill everybody all for the entire show, but, it's just unbelievable.
But I would say it's more than that. There's a lot of projects that have gone live, entrepreneurs raising money in the crypto markets, and they're turning to gatekeepers, lawyers to try to paper over, saying, how do we sort of avoid the authorities? And I don't think that's the right approach, but that's similar to the Wild West. How do we avoid the authorities? And I think so there's an analogy there as well. And I speak to the gatekeepers a little bit, the lawyers, the accountants, the advisors, and say, think about the spirit of our laws and think about how we protect the public against fraud and manipulation. And that's why Congress painted with a broad brush. There's over 30 definitions, 30 pieces of the definition of security. And Clayton was right. It's not just investment contract. There are many other pieces of it. And I'm not here to prejudge any facts and circumstances of individual tokens, but to the gatekeepers, bring your projects into the SEC, talk to us, whether it's a trading platform or a token, and find a path to registering and getting within the investor protection remit.
Okay, so Jeff, what do you think about what he just said there?
Something stands out, and that's the fact that he said, come on in, come and talk to us. Let's have a conversation. and so we've seen Coinbase trying to come in and talk to him. And, they said, hey, we want to come in. They've tried to come in. Ripple tried to go in and talk to him. For years. Multiples have tried to go in to talk to the SEC. It's not so easy. He's making it sound like, hey, just come set up an appointment, come in, we'll sit down, we'll talk through it. And then what happens when they come in and they have a conversation? That's what I want to know. Because
expect the Wells notice.
Right. Exactly. Because he's making an assumption here. There's a couple assumptions he's making. Number one, these organizations and entities don't know what they're doing, that they're automatically going in there in breach of securities law. That's number one. And number two, he's making the false assumption that these companies are automatically coming out of the gate to screw the retail investor. That's his assumption. So if you have Coinbase, you'd have to make an assumption. They've gone public. It's a publicly traded organization at this point on the New York Stock Exchange or NASDAQ or wherever coin is. It's probably on NASDAQ. But I don't know. Do you know where it is? I'm not sure whichever one it's listed on.
Yeah, I don't know.
Not really relevant. But the point is that they had to go through a lot of hurdles to get listed. to go public, to do an IPO. And that meant that the SEC was involved throughout that process. That the fact they have this brand new product and all of a sudden he's like, come on and talk to us. Come in and talk to us about it. And it's like, if you can't trust the publicly traded company that's gone through all of this, that's been around the longest. Now, not everybody's a big fan of Coinbase, right? People said they look at Coinbase and they say, hey, you know what? They have issues with their software. And every time there's a run on the market, their platform drops. That's a software issue. Maybe their platform isn't 100%, up to where it needs to be, and they'll get it there eventually, so.
But Jeff, hang on, let me interrupt you. As a software though, how are they being protected against the investor? When the investor is making money and you want to take a profit and that system is down, shouldn't the SEC, the regulated, they're public? That's
the problem, right? So that in and of itself is an issue. That's where the investor can come to the SEC or file case against Coinbase and say, hey, you know what? We tried to trade on your platform. Now there's laws on the books. So if they have a faulty product and they're trading, there's got to be laws that will protect somebody trading on their platform, unless somewhere in the fine print, they're saying we're not to be held responsible. But if they're going to hide that, I mean, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know. We'd have to talk to Jeremy Hogan or Deaton about stuff like that. I'm sure that there's, cases in the making over certain things like that. But the broader picture, Gary Gensler isn't talking about protecting people from that. That's not even what he's referencing, because if he was, then the SEC would have already had an issue with Coinbase before they allowed them to go public. So I'm still like confused as far as, and I think this is how they want it. They're trying to create this state of confusion as to how are they protecting people? Where are they protecting people? And why is it that they're automatically making these assumptions that these companies are going out to screw retail investors and they don't know what they're doing? That to me is those are like two glaring issues from both Clayton and Gensler, but more so from Gensler. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of with you here. I just I got a little bit distracted because first of all, this was it was long, right? We're not going to listen to everything. I wanted to give the OTC family just sort of an idea of what they were saying. I mean, the rest of it's kind of the same, right? There's really not it's a lot of prepared questions. I'm pretty sure that Gary Gensler gets up there like he doesn't know. Meanwhile, did you notice there's no audience questions? That never happened. So nobody from the audience got a chance, or at least whoever's viewing that, if they were cardboard cutouts, there wouldn't be any anyway. But they were sitting there, right? There was a live audience, I mean, supposedly. And you look at this and you think like, well, that's kind of weird, Jeff, because nobody's giving them any. There's no like, hey, by the way, why do you think this case against anything? Just somebody to ask a question that wasn't prepared in advance, because he knew what it was going to say. Now, I think it'd be interesting to show this right here, because Deaton just tweeted this. Look at this one here. So it says that this is Crypto Law, founded by John Deaton. He says at DACOM, Gary Gensler falsely called numbers on your smartphone screen from apps that move paper money over old settlement systems, digital assets. It's almost in line with, and we can hear it. There's actually an audio here. Let's listen in here. See if we can hear this.
You use the word digital assets. We already have digital assets.
I'll listen to this, Jeff. We already have digital assets.
The US dollar, the euro, the yen, and most of the 7,000 public companies are digital, meaning you buy and sell stock and it's digital. You buy and sell bonds, treasury. There's no physical treasury debt any longer. So I tend to call these crypto assets. You use the word crypto asset.
You see what he's doing? Oh my God. It's so
reinventing it again, Jeff.
It amazes me. It amazes me how this guy operates. I mean, time and time again, he's inventing his own terminology. He's applying because he wants to become the creator. I really believe he wants to become the grandfather of the centralized crypto asset. He wants to be the one that put the cryptocurrency space in the US as fully controlled by a centralized or entity. Now, what's crazy about it is that as you twist this narrative, and we already caught him, before, but here he is again. It's like, come on, when are you gonna? In my opinion, we already have. That's a crypto asset. No, that's not a crypto asset. No, it's not a crypto. You don't even know what that word means, because if you knew what that word means after you taught at MIT and you understood how it is in reference to blockchain technology and decentralized in nature, I mean, you can call it whatever you want to call it. If you want to call, the stocks, the way it's digitized in digital form, that we're not holding a piece of paper that is representing our stock interest. We don't get that piece of paper anymore, but that doesn't make it digital. It's not digital in the sense that the cryptocurrencies are digital. So why is he trying to bastardize the terminology over and over again? That to me is mind numbing. It's just like, and why let him get away with this nonsense? It kills me.
Yeah, and the thing about it is, like, it wasn't stable coins. Gary invented a new terminology called stable value coins.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah, listen, nobody's. It's kind of like that person trying to create a nickname for themselves. Like, hey, call me the Bruiser. Okay, jerk. Okay, dork. Okay, whatever. No, I'm Bruce. You always knew somebody back in high school. They wanted to invent a cool nickname for themselves. You don't usually invent your own nickname. Usually, someone else invents a nickname for you. It just doesn't come about no, call me so and so. That's what Gary's like. He's trying to figure out some sort of terminology that
stick. He's trying to get something to stick.
He wants it to stick. He wants it to put it out there. Nobody cares. Everyone glosses over it. And then he says stable coins need regulators to determine if they're tangible assets backing them.
Yeah.
Well, which is it, Gary? Pick your poison here. You can't have it both ways. Wait a minute. Gary Gensler can. He's from MIT, Jeff.
MIT.
Yeah, I really don't know. I mean, I wonder if the whole thing is just, it was kind of a mess. I mean, the whole thing really was just a sad thing. You could have had a really interesting debate, but from the old chair interviewing the new chair, it's I don't know, Jeff. It fell flat. Now, it would have been nice if they could have fired the question at both of them, hey, what do you think? What do you think? And seen some difference of opinion, or had some sort of a debate going on where it says, well, you know what? Hey, did you make any mistakes? Well, look, I mean, everyone makes mistakes. Would you have filed the lawsuit? I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't. And why did you think it was a good thing to continue with the lawsuit?
Exactly.
I cannot endorse coins. I cannot talk about stuff.
Yeah, I agree. Chip, I think that was a bullshit interview.
Completely bullshit.
Yeah, completely. And 100%, man. I mean, you should have organized it because you're 100% spot on. Those two should have been sitting side by side, and somebody should have asked the questions. Hey, Clayton, you dropped the bombshell lawsuit, back in December of 2020. Hey, Gensler, you had to pick up the reins. Clayton, are you sorry that you did it? At this point, are you sorry you voted the way you did? Hey, and you probably say, oh, I can't talk. I can't comment on an active
of course not.
Legal case, but there could be ways in and around it, And here Sean Thompson is saying Gary called them digital asset securities in Congress, and Tom Emmer had to correct him. See, again, and he's trying to make this. There's something wrong. Chip.
That's what it's called in the complaint. In the complaint, early paragraphs, it says digital asset securities. No, they're not. And what you talked about last night was Don Stump from the commissioner of the CFTC brilliantly put together a sort of an overview saying, look, this is, any commodities like digital assets should be regulated inside the CFTC. Of course, it might need some more clarity, but they weren't big purveyors of regulation by enforcement or litigation, whatever you want to call it. That's disturbing on a lot of levels. And speaking of disturbing, Jeff, this is also disturbing. Bitrue is saying we're aware of an issue with their XPL node. It's causing slow transaction times. We2Win did this. Deposits and withdrawals for all XRPL tokens may be impacted. We expect transaction times. And again, the reason that Bitrue's experienced an issue with this because the XRPL is just being flooded. There's nothing, everybody in the world and their mother and their grandparents and going back to the family tree is creating Trustlines, creating all this stuff and chaos going on in the XRPL, and it's overloaded. You know, Vitzman put this tweet out yesterday, the day before, saying, hey, it's overloaded. That's what's a result of the slow times. And so now you get someone like Bitrue, and the reason I saw that was because Vitzman had retweeted it. And again, this is one of the things that is sort of the fallout from this. And it's kind of sad to see because I haven't heard any official announcement from Ripple on this. Have you seen anything? Anybody in the chat seen anything on this one? Because I haven't seen anything about what's going on. But again, it's being impacted, the XRPL, and you don't need all this garbage flowing through it. And, you know, it does lock up 2 XRP, but so what? 2 XRP is $2 at this point, right? And one of the things that Minus Wells, Minus Wells brought something really interesting up last night. He had said that, you know, isn't it interesting to know that back in June, July, there were just like a couple 100,000. And now, as of, I think, September, there were 730, 40,000, don't quote me on the exact number, trust lines being set. So if you look at that, that's 1.4, 1.5 billion XRP that's basically locked up. So how many trust lines are you gonna get that you're gonna lock up with this, right? So you're locking up stuff, and now the XRPL is just getting hammered with this, and I'm not so sure it's a great thing, Jeff. I'm a little concerned about the whole thing. You know, it's not a
well, it's across the board. I think we're starting to see growing pains on all the different platforms, and the unique side of the XRPL is that they can tweak it, you know, and they can make addendums to it without having to fork it or do anything, you know. And so, whereas look at what's going on with Ethereum, you've got Vitalik is coming out with another proposal on how to decrease the gas fees. Would you rather have, you know, getting the gas fees because your gas fees are ridiculously high for every transaction, or would you rather be in a position where you're trying to fix, some latency or some slowdown in transactions because you're getting flooded with transaction, you know? And so is Ethereum getting flooded with transaction as a result? Gas fees are high, you know? So I think that we're going to start seeing some adjustment, at least within the XRPL, to accommodate and some of the things that David Schwartz had referenced. You know, I think there's ways that it can definitely expand and grow. And right now, with everything that's being thrown at it, is testing the boundaries. So, you know, and everyone has to bear with it because we've not seen a testing of the boundaries of the XRP ledger to this extent yet. You know, with all the staking going on, like you said, or not staking, but the tie-ups on all these different trust lines and all the things that are being orchestrated. I think we're going to start seeing that ramp up exponentially.
Yeah. You're right about that. I just was laughing about this because Craig DeWitt, like I said, he's been on fire lately. Blockworks tweeted this out. Welcome to the club, Block. And it's, you know, the Spider-Man's in a circle all pointing at each other. Like you got Block, the Block, Block Daemon, Block5, Blockchain.com, Blockworks, and Blockfolio. And then Craig DeWitt, the Crypto Cowboy, saying, I'm proposing Ripple rename itself to Straight Line, effective immediately.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
That's hilarious. Or it should just be, or they should rename themselves Bridge. Or there's a lot of ways they
Ripple, right? So
right. They should change it from Ripple to straight. Yeah, I like the idea of Straight Line, or, you know, the connector or what. You know, it is kind of funny. You know, I get that. You know, it is funny. Go from Ripple to Straight Line. You know, we're going from square to block.
Yeah, and Bubba Cuggs said, yeah, straight line up. Like
yeah,
straight up, baby. I love that. But yeah, Craig DeWitt's been on fire lately. We got to get him on the show, Jeff. He'd be fun. He'd be someone fun to talk to and chat with.
Chip XR Punk said, makes me laugh when Chip just replies with then talks about a meme.
It's kind of what you have to do. It's like, yeah. What am I going to say? Like, I have no input. Jeff's like right on. I say,
I know
you got tired of saying like, yeah, spot on, Jeff. Yep. I
Yeah.
just say, yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
that's what I
exactly.
would say. Of course,
Yeah,
I'm
both of us
laughing.
have comments, and we're like, "What do we? How do we respond?" You know? Yeah, I
Like,
agree 100%.
yeah,
What
Jeff,
am I
I
going to
agree.
add to that?
I agree with every word, but in your first sentence, I would have put in, I would have used a different adjective. I would have said remarkable instead of amazing. You know, I might have that. Sorry, it was just a difference of interpretation there.
Right.
So yeah, that sometimes happens. Yeah, yeah. But by the way, check out this meme right here.
That's funny. Jeff Rome is wondering what the top trust lines are.
Oh, that's
But
in the eyes of the beholder. I think
what do you think about all these trust lines? I mean, there's a whole bunch of them dropping, and some of them might be nothing. You know, so
Scamville.
it looks like they have value, but they really don't have value. You know, and it's at the end of the day, you know, they'll just go to zero because maybe they are zero. I've got some airdrops on certain things, and all of a sudden you log in and you're like, you've got $8,000-9,000 or whatever of this asset. Then you go to try to look into it, and you're like, oh, well, it's really nothing. It's just like you get it to trade, to play in their space. You know, I don't know. It's just bizarre stuff.
Well, that's where, for example, that's where Minus Wells was saying, like he was saying the VGB, it's like trading, it was trading at $38, $39. Yeah, because there's like 4 of them that got leaked, right? So they're scarce, so it's not the real deal. And maybe someone bought it at that price thinking it was like something to buy, or bought 2. And then all of a sudden it unfairly sort of like props up the thing, but that's not the real, it's not the real price. It's not the real.
No. But that's where the scams are, and those, if there's scams like that going on out there, people are going to get caught and, they get dealt with accordingly, by the authority, wherever they might be.
Speaking of the authority, isn't it?
Track them down.
Gary Gensler's made himself the authority.
Gensler. Yes,
Eleanor Terret, who wrote that beautiful piece exposing the whole Ripple SEC stuff, really beautiful investigative report, said she just caught up with the great John Deaton at DACOM Summit. He summed up his takeaway from the conversation between Jay Clayton and Gary Gensler with one statement: the crypto space should be very worried. Regulation by enforcement is here to stay. Isn't that sad, Jeff?
That really is. Regulation by enforcement, it's only here to stay so long as this current administration is in office. Once this administration is gone, or come 22, I think they're going to find that they're going to have a significantly different influence, on how things are being done. So, yeah, we'll see how that expands.
And not only that, Jeff, but she also caught up with Jay Clayton. She said, I managed to catch Jay Clayton as he was rushing out the door after his virtual interview with Gary Gensler. So he was hightailing it out of there. She said, I asked him what he thought of Charlie Gasparino and my opus. That was that investigative report. He said it was, thought for a second, long. You did a lot of research. That was it. Boom, poof, gone, out the door. He was running because he knew he was going to get some resistance. And it's a good thing he didn't see the mighty John Deaton. Otherwise, that might not end well, because I think John Deaton would have been like, hey, let's sit down over here.
Well, it's that really puts him on the spot too, because she really called Clayton to the mat, in that article. So what's he gonna say?
I have to give him props, Jeff. I mean, quite honestly, he said the right thing. He's like, it was long. This is something that I learned from a friend a long time ago. It said, hey, like, back when you were in the bands and you were playing a lot of stuff, and like, I had my original music. Everyone in my band was writing original music. You were hanging out with bands all the time. You went to see bands, you went to see your friends' bands. And it was someone like, hey, what do you think of that tune? And I would always try to find something that I liked about it, right? Mm-hmm. And it would be like, you know what? I really like that bass line, or there was a really good groove with the drum. Like, instead of saying like, yeah, the song wasn't really, look, I just don't like punk country. Okay. It's like, it's just not for me, or I'm not just, hey, you know what? I really like the part of it. It's kind of cool when you come from that aspect. The only thing he could tell her was it was long and you did a lot of research. So at least he acknowledged the fact that, yeah, it was well researched and it was long. Because it was well researched, it was long. But I got to give Jay, for thinking quick on his feet and giving her an answer. Look, not bad. I got to say that's not a bad thing you could say there.
That's right. No, I think that's actually a nice answer. But then he ran out.
And I think he was running out the door, and he's like, "Wait a minute, go. Get out of here. Where do you think you're going?" As he was heading for the exit.
Now we got to find out when Charlie's coming on the chain. But actually, it'd be good to have Eleanor here on the chain too. Why not?
Let's get her on here because I want to talk about that investigative report. That was just phenomenal.
We should just ask her if she can come on.
And look at this. You want to talk about what the fallout from this stuff is? Fidelity Canada reportedly launching a spot Bitcoin ETF. You know why they're launching in Canada, Jeff? Because they can't launch it here.
That's
That's
hilarious. Unfortunately, sad but true.
It's sad and it's pathetic. It's like, okay, so Canada is getting us, a spot Bitcoin ETF, but you can't launch that here. And it's just, to me, I don't know, it's bizarre. But on other news here, I'm just kind of going through some of the other things we had in the on the schedule for tonight. I don't know, Jeff, do you know a lot about NFTs? Because I'm learning a lot about NFTs.
They're cool.
They are cool, right? So one of the cool things, I don't know if you guys know who Mike Shinoda is, but Mike Shinoda is the lead singer of the rock sort of rap band known as Linkin Park, right? So there he is right there. And, he's had a whole career as Linkin Park, last 20 plus years. And so this is kind of a cool thing that I came across here. It's interesting when people are known for one sort of thing and then they have like a second life, not the game Second Life, but a second life in reality. But this is Mike Shinoda here, and he happens to be a pretty solid artist. And he's releasing something called ZIGGURATS. And today was the NFL pre-sale at 10. Tomorrow is the NFT public scale at 10 PST, limit 3 per wallet. And then the mixtape goes live on all streaming platforms. And this stuff's pretty cool, man, when you look at it. It's pretty interesting, some of the his artwork there, and if you even look at his avatar there, it's nice looking.
Nice.
So
it's really cool.
Yeah, he's like, newcomers would be a tiny transaction fee gas. Yeah, a tiny transaction fee. So you need a little bit more than 15 TES because this is going to be on the.
He's doing on Ethereum.
No, not on.
On OpenSea.
No. Look at him right there. There's young Mike right there. Seeing a glimpse of 20.
Him?
That's him from 2021. Or 20 years ago, I don't know. But anyway, it's really good stuff.
2001.
But you can see his stuff, man. His stuff is really solid. He's does some really cool stuff. He's a good artist. There he is right there. He's probably should get him on here. I like that. By the way,
good band.
Look at that. Blockchain and booze. Why don't we name the channel that, Jeff?
Dude, that's awesome.
Or blockchain and bourbon.
Because we tried it and it didn't work.
That's right. We did have a stream where we tried blockchain and bourbon. We drank a bunch of bourbons online. That really blockchainbooze.io. I like that though. What a great name.
It does not work.
Yeah, it didn't really work that well. So I think that's why we probably didn't go
Witsy is live on Twitter right now. Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, he's probably going in and talking all about the but anyway, I just thought that was pretty cool. It's great when somebody has another sort of a second career, like he's known for his music and now he's into the NFT space, and that is pretty cool. So I think that's all right. Yeah, it's all right. And then Jeff, this one here, I don't know if Sir John's on tonight, but I thought this was pretty exciting. Look at this right here. Croatia's largest supermarket, Konzum, now accepts XRP payments online in a collaboration with domestic fintech company Electrocoin and their paycheck system. You can pay with crypto. How cool is that, dude?
Very cool.
We can't even do that at our grocery stores.
No, well, we're going to see that happening more and more in other parts of the world, and again, you go to certain countries where they already have a monetary issue. And cryptocurrency is definitely a salvation for them, and it's something that is beneficial to the people. And that's where just one little element that I would love to see Gary Gensler, chair of the SEC, talk about is the benefit to the people. I don't want him to just reference blockchain. I don't want him to talk about how they can bring it into to centralize the decentralized structure. I want him to talk about how digital asset has helped people all over the world really, move from, or move into, I should say, a modern economy. And so if they're doing that over in Croatia, it would be interesting to look at the percentage of people in a country like Croatia that carry credit cards, that have credit card. And now if you can digitize and allow them to use cryptocurrencies, same thing in El Salvador. How many people are running around with credit cards there? Probably not a lot. You can probably try to find an app to connect your bank, but if you can move them into Bitcoin or into another asset, digital asset, then all of a sudden you're opening up the world, the whole world. It's just, it's amazing.
And Jeff, this was released yesterday, but look at this. The Department of Justice sharpens its cryptocurrency enforcement focus. Any shocker on that one? No. So it's really long. It's a lot of stuff, but I think the only thing really worth reading right here is the last paragraph. For companies in the cryptocurrency space, be prepared for increased scrutiny by the Department of Justice and its partner regulatory agencies. Until further regulation in the space, regulation through enforcement will have to suffice. That's what, seriously, Jeff, they're actually endorsing regulation through enforcement. It's going to have to be good enough for now, Jeff. That's what they're basically saying.
Good enough for now because we don't have people in Congress that are smart enough or cognizant enough, just not cognizant enough or care enough to bring it to a vote, and to actually start normalizing the space a little bit. But hey, Chip, I wanted to just give someone a real quick shout out here because he's got a show coming up here as well at 9 p.m.
All right.
We just want to give him a quick shout out.
Come on, man, Berserker.
Berserker's here in the house. So you guys got a place to go after this concludes. Head over to Berserker's channel and give him some love. He runs a good, tight ship over there. It's a good show. A lot of great, fascinating conversation. I had joined it at one point, early days, but it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. Look at this right here, Jeff. As such, companies would be well advised to assess their compliance program for suitability to address cryptocurrency-related risks. Well, okay. So until further regulation in the space, regulation through enforcement will have to suffice. So they're kind of speaking out both sides of their mouth. There's not any clarity, so we're just going to have to create clarity through enforcement. And then they're saying, well, your programs you better address the currency, cryptocurrency-related risk. What risk? There are no guidelines. How do we know if it's a risk? This whole thing is ridiculous. The DOJ takes a broad view of jurisdiction, so do not be complacent when it comes to avoiding the long arm of the law.
And
I thought this was a joke, Jeff.
Wherever you are.
Jeff, I really thought this was a joke. And I go like, okay, someone put one over on me. But I'm like, first of all, it's in Reuters. It's written by 3 people. I'm like, is this for real? Like, who writes this kind of stuff? And like, they're saying the quiet parts out loud, Jeff. They're not even sort of like hiding it anymore. They're like, get ready to get hassled big time. Get ready for the big shakedown because we're coming for you. And then we got Gensler who's backing it up with, come in and talk to us. Come in and talk to us. And if you get a Wells notice, which is a notice of future enforcement, some kind of litigation.
Well, it's crazy now. The IRS is talking about hiring how many thousands of people that are all working out. 90,000 people that are all working out of their homes, all making 6-figure incomes, working out of their homes
to shake
in
down
order
the
to
common
scrutinize,
people,
to shake down the common people, to go after all these retail investors that supposedly the SEC is out there to help and support. But when it comes to, the overall concepts here, it's interesting because the SEC seems to be a lot more concerned with protecting the interests of the accredited investor and the big corporation, and not so much the retail investor, because, as soon as you start seeing them making some money, whether it was in the housing market or whether it's in stock, they always seem to find a way to, start hyper focusing on, why are the commoners able to make all this money? They're going to get hurt. They're going to get hurt. Oh, the poor commoners, they're going to get hurt. We better warn them. We better protect them from themselves. We can't let them make money. But sometimes, hey, the one thing that, everyone says, especially in the crypto space, which is still relatively speculative, you invest what you can afford to lose. But that goes with everything. If you start a brand new business, hey, you know what? I was talking to my brother-in-law. He started business a couple years ago. And he said, I don't have a plan B. This is it. My business is my plan. Now imagine you do that, you have your investments, but when you invest, there's always a level of risk with whatever you do. You can buy real estate. Someone bought a house around the corner here. They paid significantly more than asking price. And we found out that it was a couple people that are investing in property, and they're asking way too much on the rental for the property, and it's just sitting empty. So there's a level of risk there. I mean, whatever you do, you can lose your money. That's the part of investing. It's not always a sure thing. If you want a sure thing, you can put it in the bank and get 0.5%. That's a sure thing. You can put it in your 401k, and that's not even a sure thing. You never know, Chip.
No, that happened in our neighborhood too, where there's a house that went so far over asking price. I was like, cash deal, close like that. It's like, I don't know if it's BlackRock who's doing it, but we brought up Common People. By the way, this is one of the greatest songs of all time. If you guys don't know it, it's by Pulp. It's called Common People. It's the greatest tune of all time. And then there's a phenomenal, I would say, reinterpretation. I don't even know if you can call it a cover, by William Shatner. He does a version of Common People, which is absolutely nutty and insane, but it's also a great story too. But I actually, look at that, 38 million views this old video has on YouTube. And for the people who are fans, I'll
like
throw
our
it in
videos.
Like our videos, Jeff, with just a little bit less on the zeros. But anyway, I'll throw it in the chat because I can't play it. We'll get strikes against it, and Pope will come after us. But anyway, Jeff, you want to take us out of here?
Yeah, you had our thing up there. Because the internet is always proven true when you see it in writing. But On the Chain does stream live 6 days a week. If you're brand new here, make sure you hit the subscribe button, and note that we do stream from Sunday through Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and every Saturday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I do want to give a huge shout out to all of our new members that are joining On the Chain, and those that are joining with support for On the Chain. Appreciate you guys a lot.
Yes.
There'll be a lot more coming in that membership, when you guys join and help support On the Chain. So definitely got to give you guys a shout out. And that's it, but go check out onthechain.io, onthechain.io, and make sure you go check out Berserker, because we're holding Berserker up. He said he was going to start at 6 p.m. Pacific time. It is now 6:04 Pacific time. He's still hanging out in the chat. I'm sure he's got things going there, but Chip, that's what I've got. Tomorrow's another day, and I'm sure we'll have a lot more to talk about.
Yeah, let's do that. So anyway, from On the Chain, Chip and Jeff, check it out. We are out. We'll see you on the next one. Take care.
Let's go.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.